Something broke, not slowly, not gradually, catastrophically. In the span of weeks, Bitcoin fell from over $90,000 to below 40%. Can vaporize from the market in a violence that even veterans are calling unusual. My phone has been on fire. Messages from people who bought the top, people who believe the narrative, people who are now watching their portfolios implode in real time and asking the same question over and over. Is this the end? The fear is palpable. The confusion is universal. And the timing feels biblical. Because this is not just another dip. This is happening after Wall Street finally embraced Bitcoin. After the ETFs launched. After institutional adoption was supposed to validate everything. After the narrative said we had won. So why does it feel like we are losing? The numbers tell a story of psychological carnage. The fear and greed index crashed into single digits. Extreme fear. The kind of reading that shows up at capitulation events. At moments when retail investors are selling at any price used to escape the pain. The relative strength index on the weekly chart oversold to levels not seen since the darkest days of previous bear markets. Technical analysts are posting charts with annotations that simply say, this is historic. Sentiment has collapsed. Social media is a graveyard of disbelief. Long-term holders are posting screenshots of unrealized losses that could destroy most people's year. Some are questioning whether they were wrong about everything. And here is what makes this moment so psychologically destabilizing. Nobody agrees on why this is happening. Ask 10 analysts, getting completely different explanations. Macro, technicals, derivatives, government policy, institutional unbinding, structural shifts, deflation, deleveraging. The market is screaming, but the message is scrambled. And that uncertainty, that is what breaks people. Because you do not understand why something is falling, you cannot know if it will ever stop. So let's ask it directly. Why is Bitcoin collapsing after the most bullish setup in its history? This was supposed to be the cycle. The ETFs were live. Institutions were buying. Nation states were accumulating. The Alvina the curve. All the pieces were in place. And that here we are, staring into the abyss. Some say this was inevitable. That the price ran too far, too fast. That 90,000 was built on leverage and euphoria, and gravity always wins eventually. Others say something darker is happening. That the game has changed. That Bitcoin is no longer the asset we thought it was. And a growing number of people are starting to whisper a theory that feels almost heretical. What if Bitcoin scarcity has been compromised? Not on the blockchain, but in the market itself? All that though, we will return to it. First, let's talk about human psychology and why certain price levels matter more than they sold. When Bitcoin crossed 60,000, something unlocked. A psychological gate opened. Because 60,000 was not just a number. It was a profit level. A memory. A target that long-term holders have been waiting for since the last cycle. And when we push past 70, 1080, 90,000, different cohorts of investors suddenly found themselves sitting on life-changing guns. People who bought at 10,000 were up 9 times. People who bought at 20 were up 4 times. People who accumulated during the depths of the last bear market were staring at numbers they only dreamed about. And here is the hard truth about human nature. For some of them, that was enough. Not everyone is a maximalist. Not everyone believes Bitcoin will reach $1 million. Some people are a number in their head, a number that meant financial security, early retirement, their freedom. And when they hit it, they sold. They took the win. They walked away. They told themselves they survived the chaos and come out victorious. And you cannot blame them. But when enough people reach the psychological exit point at the same time, something breaks. The bid disappears. The buyer steps back, and the price does not drift lower. It plummets. This is not weakness. This is game theory playing out in real time. But there is something deeper happening here. Something structural. Something that many people still do not fully understand. Bitcoin is no longer a simple asset. It is said to be clean. You bought Bitcoin. You held it. You owned it. The game was straightforward. Not anymore. Now there are futures, options, perpetual swaps, ETFs, structured products, collateralized instruments, institutional custody chance. Derivatives on derivatives. The ecosystem has exploded into a labyrinth of financial engineering that would make a Wall Street trader smile and a cypherpunk cry. And with that complexity come new players. Hedge funds, market makers, proprietary trading desks, quantitative funds running algorithmic strategies that treat Bitcoin like any other commodity to be arbitraged and exploited. These are not believers. They are participants, and they play by different rules. This is not a flow. This is how markets work, but it is unsettling, because it means the thesis can be right and the trade can still be wrong, at least in the short term. Here is what experience teaches. This is not the first time Bitcoin has fallen 40%. It is not the first time FR has reached extreme levels. It is not the first time people have questioned whether this is the end. In 2017, Bitcoin fell 40%, twice, before eventually reaching 20,000. In 2021, Bitcoin fell 50% in the middle of a bull market, recovered, and went on to make new all-time highs. When you introduce leverage, margin requirements, and risk management protocols into a volatile asset, you introduce forced liquidations, automatic selling, cascading unwinds. You turn a decentralized, peer-to-peer network into a tradable instrument subject to the same structural vulnerabilities as every other modern financial market. And here is the uncomfortable question. Is Bitcoin still scarce if the market is dominated by derivatives that create synthetic exposure without requiring actual ownership of the underlying asset? Let me present the strongest possible case from the critics. The argument that keeps people awake at night. They say this: Bitcoin was designed with a hard cap, 21 million coins, absolute scarcity, programmatic certainty. But scarcity only matters if the market respects it. And in a financialized system, the market does not care about the blockchain. It cares about the price. And the price is increasingly determined not by people buying and holding actual Bitcoin, but by traders exchanging contracts, options, and claims that reference Bitcoin. If 10 people can trade a derivative that gives them exposure to one Bitcoin, have you not effectively created 10 claims on that one coin? And if those 10 claims can be bought, sold, and leveraged, do they not behave like additional supply in the market? Price discovery, they argue, as moved off-chain. The blockchain still enforces the 21 million limit, but the market, where actual trading happens, might be operating under different physics. This is a theory that scares people. Because say if it is true, it means the scarcity narrative was not wrong. It was used incomplete. It means Bitcoin could be scarce and still behave like a non-scarce asset in a derivatives-dominated market. It means Wall Street did not validate Bitcoin. It absorbed it. And it means the rules of channeling was that even the most sophisticated holders might not fully understand that. Does that mean Bitcoin is broken? Not necessarily. But it might mean the game is different now. Let's bring this back to reality. The Bitcoin protocol has not changed. The supply cap is still 21 million. The code is still running exactly as designed. The blockchain is still processing blocks every 10 minutes, enforcing the rules that have always existed. Nothing about Bitcoin itself has been compromised. What has changed is the market structure around it. And markets are messy. Markets are emotional. Markets are influenced by leverage, positioning, and the psychological state of participants. The critics are not entirely wrong. Derivatives do create synthetic exposure. Futures markets can influence spot prices. Institutional leverage can amplify volatility. But that does not mean scarcity has been destroyed. It means the market has evolved, and evolution is uncomfortable. Bitcoin is being tested in ways it has never been tested before. Not by regulators, not by technological failure, but by its own success. It became big enough to attract the full force of global finance. And global finance does not play gently. Now let's talk about what might actually be driving this crash. When the Bitcoin ETFs launched, something historic happened. Billions of dollars poured into the ecosystem through institutional channels. Funds, advisors, wealth managers are suddenly able to offer Bitcoin exposure to clients without the friction of self-custody. It was celebrated as the ultimate validation. And it was. But here is what many people overlooked. Institutional money is not patent money. It is mandated money. It operates within risk frameworks, margin requirements, and portfolio allocation rules. When Bitcoin was claiming, everything was fine. Guns justify exposure. Clients were happy. Risk models were satisfied. But when Bitcoin fell 40% in a matter of weeks, risk models started flashing red. Margin calls went out. Portfolio managers were forced to rebalance. Funds with leverage were forced to the risk or face liquidation. This was not a choice. This was protocol. Institutional protocol. And when large holders are forced to sell into a falling market, they do not care about finding a good price. They care about meeting their obligations. They hit the bid. They take whatever liquidity exists. They create a vacuum. Retail sees the selling and panics. Algorithms detect the momentum and pile on. Market makers widen spreads. Liquidity evaporates. And suddenly a 20% correction becomes a 40% collapse. This is not manipulation. This is modern market structure. This is what happens when an asset designed to be becomes an asset designed to be traded. But there is another layer to this. A macro layer that almost nobody is talking about. Bitcoin rallied for years on a simple narrative. Inflation protection. Hard money. A high against currency debasement. When governments printed trillions, Bitcoin soared. When inflation spiked, Bitcoin rallied. The narrative was clear. The logic was sound. But what happens when the macro environment shifts? What happens when markets start pricing deflation instead of inflation? Because that is what some traders believe is happening now. Global growth is slowing. Credit conditions are tightening. Central banks are no longer printing. The liquidity tide that lifted all speculative assets is receding. And in a deflationary environment, the inflation high narrative brags. Suddenly Bitcoin is not a safe haven. It is a risk asset, a speculative bet, something you say when you need liquidity. Markets are forward-looking. They do not wait for confirmation. They price in what they think is coming. And if enough participants believe deflation is a new reality, Bitcoin gets repriced. In 2022, Bitcoin fell 70% and people genuinely believed it was over. That the industry was dead. That the dream had failed. And that here we are, still trading, still building, still arguing about what happens next. Volatility is not a bug. It is the price of admission. If you want an asset that can appreciate 10 times in a cycle, you have to accept that it can also fall 50% in a month. The people who survive Bitcoin are not the ones who avoid the crashes. They are the ones who endure them, who understand that chaos is part of the process, who have a conviction strong enough to outlast the fear. That does not mean this team is the same. It does not mean Bitcoin will definitely recover. But it does mean history offers perspective. And perspective is accident when you are drowning. This is where weak conviction dies. Not in the bear market that everyone expects, but in the crash that happens after validation, after institutional adoption, after the narrative said we are won. Because that is the cruelest test, when everything was supposed to work and it does not. When the ETFs were supposed to provide stability and instead they amplify volatility. When Wall Street was supposed to bring legitimacy and instead it brought leverage and forced liquidations. When the believers held through everything, reached their target, and then watched it disintegrate. This is the moment where people either understand what they own, or they realize they do not. And there is no shame in either outcome. Some people will stay here and never come back. They will walk away convinced they were right to leave. That Bitcoin was a speculative mania that finally broke. Others will hold. They will accumulate. They will see opportunity where others see disaster. And a few will do something even harder. They will admit they do not know what happens next, but they will stay in the game anyway. Because the uncertainty is not a reason to quit. It is just the condition of the battlefield. So is this the end of Bitcoin? I do not know. Nobody knows. What I don't know is this. Bitcoin has survived everything thrown at it for 15 years. Hacks, bans, scandals, bear markets, ideological wars, technological challenges, regulatory assault. It has died 1,000 times in headlines and been reborn every single time. But something is different now. Bitcoin is no longer a rebel asset operating in the shadows. It is a $1 trillion instrument embedded in the global financial system. And that changes everything. The scarcity is still real. The protocol is still sound. The vision is still intact. But the market? The market is a war zone. And war zones are not safe. Maybe this is not the end. Maybe this is used the transfer machine. The pound fell, violent, destabilizing shift from a cypherpunk experiment into a global financial instrument that nations, institutions, and billions of people will interact with. Maybe this crash is not Bitcoin falling. Maybe it is Bitcoin succeeding in a way that nobody was prepared for. Maybe the question is not whether Bitcoin survives. Maybe the question is whether we survive Bitcoin. History is being written in real time, and none of us know how the chapter ends. But we are here, watching it unfold, living through the chaos. And if there is one thing Bitcoin has taught us, it is this. The only way to know what happens next is to stay in the game.